Hello all, welcome to another edition of Quick Excel. Today we're going to be going over pivot tables. They're a great way to summarize data and a widely used skill for Excel. So how do you create a pivot table first of all? So if you go up to this tab for Insert and you select that and then you go to Pivot Table, it should automatically figure out your range, but if it doesn't, just go ahead and select this little button and select the range that you need. By default, it'll do a new worksheet, but you can also select existing worksheet and select the location where you want it to be put in. Now this is going to give an error because I set it up in such a way to show you one of the common errors that occurs when you do pivot tables. You'll see the pivot table field name is not valid. And why is that? So if I cancel this, you'll see one of the headers does not have a name. So that's a good lesson. You need to put a header name in each column. So let's go ahead and put that back in for ship date, and then we'll go back to the Insert tab and go to Pivot Table to create the pivot table. So now we got to create it. Great. So on the right side, you'll see that you've got all your field names here, and then you've also got like report filter, column labels, row labels, and values. And we'll get into what those are. So first of all, let's put customer name into our pivot table. So the easiest way to do that is just to drop it here. You can see drop row fields here, so that would put it into the rows. If we dropped it here, it would put it in column fields. If we dropped it here, it would be put into the report filters, and here it would be in this values. So let's just drop it in the rows for now. And you can see it showed up here in the row labels. So the other way to add things, you can see, let's go to segment. Let's add segment to the column, so I'll drag it here in the column labels and it shows up there. And so what you want to usually look at for things like this is a summary of sales or quantity or something like that. So let's go ahead and take the sales and drop them either into the values or here. And you can see we start to get what's the sales by customer, by segment. And that's great. So one of the other things you can do is do custom groupings. So you can say, I want to group all the errands together. So if you hold Control and you select all of them, then you can go up to Group Selection. And you can see it grouped all these together. And let's say we want to group all the atoms together. We can create all the groups that we want as an extra hierarchy on top of our data. Let's go ahead and ungroup those for now. So that's one thing you can do. Let's say we want to filter. Say we only want the ship mode of a certain way. So if you drag either your ship mode into the report filter or up here, you'll see this drop down appear. Let's say I only wanted first class, I would just select that and click OK. If I want multiple fields, then I have to select this checkbox to select multiple fields, and let's say first class and second class, and then click OK. So now you can't really tell, but this is now only showing first and second class ship mode. So what are some of the other things you can do? So instead of, if you wanted to filter customers, you don't have to drag it up into the report filter. Once it's in the report, you can just select this drop down right next to its name and do the filtering there. And you've actually got another option that you didn't have in the other type of filtering. If you go to value filters, there's this top 10 option. So let's go ahead and select that. And what that's going to do is just show you the top 10 based on whatever feature you have here. It happens to be sum of sales. So let's select that, and now we've got only the top 10 customers. And also for values, let's pull in another sales thing here. So we've got, they called it sales 2, but if we go to the right click it and select value field settings, you can see you can also select count, average, max, min, and so forth. So let's select average, and we can change the name up here So we'll just call this average sales. There, so now we can see the sum of sales and the average sales per order. And let's actually drag another sales in here, and I'm going to show you another feature. These are called table calculations. I'm going to change the name of this to running total sales. And we're going to go to the tab Show Values As. In this drop down you have various different options. I'm just going to run through one of them, but you can go ahead and look through them at your leisure. Running total in, and then I have to select, so actually cancel out of this first, and we're going to put in, let's put in order date into the rows as well. So you can have multiple fields in the rows. And now let's go back to this. Show values as. And now we're going to go back to running total in, and we're going to select order date. Oh, sorry, I didn't select the right one. I select running total. I'm going to select order date. I'm going to click OK. And you're going to see in this new field, let's rename it again. Sorry. Total sales. Let's pull this over. So what running total sales is going to do, it's going to take the sum of sales here. So this is just going to equal that one. For this second row, you're going to see this is the sum of these two. And for this third row, it's going to be the sum of these three. And it recalculates for each pane here. So you can see each customer is a different pane, is what they call it. They're kind of separated, see? And so you can see the calculation starts over each time there. And you can look at some of the other options there as well. So what are some of the other things? So if you're looking at the cosmetic design of your table, you can change that here under the Design tab. So if you don't like these subtotals here, you can take those out by going to Subtotals, Do Not Show Subtotals. You can see by default it has these grand totals both at the right of the table and at the bottom. If you don't want those, or if you want to take them off for the rows or the columns, you can do that. Oh, whoops. Let's go back here. So let's take those off. You can see those no longer show up. The report layout, you've got several different options. You can do a compact form, which just indents the different fields that you add. So if we add even another field, let's say country, it keeps it all in the same column. It just keeps indenting it. And then you've also got the outline form, which is similar. It just separates them out into different columns. And then the tabular form, which is what I use usually because it's easier to visualize for me. Okay, those are the main options. And then the other thing you should know is if you change the data on your orders, so if something gets deleted or updated or something, you'll have to go back to this pivot table, and you'll have to go to options, and you'll have to hit the refresh in order to recalculate things. And if the size of your table changes, so let's say there's more rows added on here, you know, there's more data here added, then you'll have to go back to your pivot table and you're going to have to change the data source. There is one way to get around this, and that is if you use a dynamic named range. I went over that in a previous video, and I'll put the link down in the description below so you can check out that video if you're interested in that. So yeah, those are all the things you need to know to create a pivot table and get the most out of it. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you learned something, go ahead and give me a thumbs up and subscribe. That would be much appreciated. Thank you very much.